Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to react to a video about it's a video about the worst anti-woke YouTube channel. This actually is interesting in a way because this is a very short introduction. So don't leave just yet. What I'm trying to say is that this is a reaction video to someone who's reacting to a video that I've already reacted to. So it is kind of relevant to a different reaction video I made, but I think it adds enough layers that it is not just basically me doing the same reaction video. The video in question is Ash Sarkar's video on Tradwives, and I was agreeing with the criticism there, just in case you're a little misogynist who accidentally clicked on the video. Fuck you. Sorry. Anyway, we'll get into the video, will we? We will. So, let's jump in. Boom. In we go. Because that's the intention. To watch the video.
It's me, Curtis Connor 14 Pro Max, here for another video on YouTube.com. Today, we're going to be looking at a video from the anti-woke YouTube channel, Think Before You Sleep.
That is a slightly creepy thing. Sorry for interrupting, but slightly creepy thing would have. Also, Think Before You Sleep YT, is there a handle? Is there another? Think Before You Sleep? Just a second. I'll be back to you in 1 second. Here we are. So this is actually the Think Before You Sleep channel that has the Think Before You Sleep at section. So yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That is interesting. Channel with 19 subscribers and 12 videos. They have the actual at of Think Before You Sleep. Interesting. Interesting. Anyway, back to the video. I just found that kind of an interesting discussion. Anyway,
Use anti-woke in a general sense. It's kind of anti-feminist, anti-SJW sort of stuff. This video, called How Woke Propaganda Works, is a reaction video to a video from Novara Media, and it's hosted by Ash Sarkar. I'm just going to play his video, which plays her video and his reaction. And then I'm going to talk about what we're seeing. It's going to be slow, it's going to be clunky and chunky, but we're going to have fun with it, and we love it. Thank you. Let's go.
Lately, I've been seeing this thing pop up on social media.
We are going to talk about how you can become a traditional wife.
Some younger millennials and Zoomers have decided to embrace...
Very creepy. And one thing was, for this is, key thing is, for example, we'll find out this propaganda.
Living La Vida casserole, dedicating themselves to cooking, cleaning, and child rearing, while their husbands or boyfriends, chop firewood or go to their job in human...
Although boyfriends, this is the thing. One of the things I had a critique under the traditional thing as well. It isn't even like a traditional role. It's the issue, and this oftentimes with people who are even Catholics. Often this is especially true with Christians. They pick and choose. And sorry to any Christians out there who are part of like a split off religion. Orthodox is generally. What I'm trying to say is that if you're Protestant, for example, like if you're an English Protestant, you have that church because your king, not now, but like your king in the past, wanted to marry another woman so he could fuck and have a child. A male child, specifically. That's why you have a Protestant church. That is, to be honest, not the best history to have for your church. Like, that's the reason. Like, it's just, what I'm trying to basically explain is that people do a lot of picking and choosing. So in that case, that was, I want to have a divorce. The Pope says I'm not allowed to have a divorce. Fine, I'll make a religion where divorce is okay. Boom. Okay, so you're picking and choosing, and this is the problem of being a trad wife. Like a good few of these women aren't even like trad wives in every sense of the word. Number one, they're recording TikToks, which is not exactly in any way what a traditional wife would be doing. But also, the fact of the matter is, like, it's just there are a lot of different things you can go where, like, the reason why people would say this feels dodgy and a problem is because they're not even being a full traditional wife. They're they're taking things from a traditional wife lifestyle, which is the, obeying the boyfriend, doing all the actual labor, and then leaving out all the things that maybe wouldn't be so good at getting that message out. For example, shutting up and not speaking only when your husband allows it, not really, getting to the relationship until you've married and all that sort of stuff, and all these traditional things. And that's the problem, because really that's when it begins to feel not just that you have a traditional lifestyle, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think that necessarily you are choosing that, but that you are also deciding to ignore certain things in order so that message can be spread. That is a problem.
resources. This isn't just about personal choice or individual preferences. It's advancing a right-wing political ideology and dressing it up as a lifestyle.
Oh no, women doing housework, child rearing.
I fucking
right
hate
wing,
Americans.
traditional.
Sorry. No, not all
What is
Americans.
this world?
Just some Americans. Seriously. Seriously, where did you go wrong? No, I'm kind of joking. But what I'm trying to say is that not all of. What I'm trying to say. Okay, this is getting off topic. What I'm trying to say is that I just don't. Some Americans just,
Come to. This is terrible. Somebody please save us from this deeply misogynistic movement where women are choosing to stay home instead of working a job.
Choosing is a very got a problem there. Because what do you mean by choosing? For example, let's say, you're tied up in someone's basement and they say, I'm going to stab you through your heart unless you cut off your toes. Now, technically, if you chose to cut off your toes, you chose that. The problem is, in a court of law, that person would still be guilty of that action. Because even though you chose to do it, you chose to do it under duress. You were given a choice, an option, and you chose the best option. But guess what? That's not how choice works. Also, if you use psychological factors, you kind of like you want this. If you have a society that pushes this is how you should do things, then even in a court of law, that is not going to hold. You see what I mean? Because people can kind of realize if you tell someone to do something and they do it, that's not really their choice. If you subtly influence them, you see, if I watch one of those TikToks and I become that way, then that wasn't necessarily a choice because they influenced it. Ultimately, a lot of things aren't really choices. Sorry for pausing on you like that.
Ow. So that's what this video is like. Random stock image, smug, whiny commentary that takes the first 20 seconds of the.
Yeah, I mean, on my other channel, I stock images, I would use them a bit, but mostly speaking, I would sometimes use just black screen, because, it can be hard to, just chuck images in there. It's a bit weird when you do that. But anyway.
Introduction to a video and does a little bit of a straw man, summarizing the trad wife social media phenomenon as women choosing to stay home and work.
Deeply misogynistic movement where women are choosing to stay home instead of working a job.
It's a classic example of a straw man. However, I think we can grant some leniency because it's a sarcastic kind of like preaching to the choir that already gets what I'm saying sort of thing. So let's just keep watching and check it out.
Why is this important? 3 things. These women are often really young, in their 20s, and they're preaching the values of submitting to a husband to an audience of other young women.
Gee, as opposed to what the mainstream left is promoting to young children during family-friendly events?
First of all, family-friendly meaning what? The amount of shit parents take the children to is amazing. It's definitely the children want to go to that. Like parks, for example, or the zoo. A good few children do not want to go to the zoo. You're telling them this is where we're going. And then you're there. What even is that? That's supposed to be a family-friendly event, but the child doesn't want to go there. You're bringing a child along. See what I mean? It's just a lot of things are not, they're kind of bullshit. Parents bring them along. And that could be construed as a minor child abuse, All I'm trying to say, also, I'm going to guess this is one of those, transphobic arguments.
Also, why is submitting to a partner bad if it's done so by choice?
Once again, choice is a very debatable thing. If you're threatened with violence or even just there's a presence of domineering attitude, guess what? That's not a choice. That's not even a choice in the court of law. It's amazing that if you are... it's very concerning. It's concerning if your definition of choice doesn't even hold up in a court of law. Because it makes me think, what happens if ever you get into a relationship with someone, things get slightly intimate, and you're like, it was their choice. No, it wasn't. That's your definition of choice. It could very much not be,
This video has 300,000 views, and the channel has 700,000 subscribers. And this is the level of commentary. Pure, raw, unfiltered whataboutism, straight from the...
To be fair, anyone who says that YouTubers, need to have skill or, have quality or be right is completely fucking wrong. Because ultimately, what are you doing? You're sitting down and recording your voice. For example, this is literally just me looking at a video. What exactly am I adding to this other than what I would be doing? Like, if this was recorded in secret, maybe it is recorded in secret, maybe I don't realize that I'm being recorded. In that case, it's going to be the same thing. You see what I mean? It's like, you're not actually doing anything. The same with, not all, but a good few gamer YouTubers. They're just playing a game as they always would, but recording it. You see, it's this problem on YouTube, which is thinking as if this is actually work. Really, it's just living life, but like, it's equivalent to a very, very specific vlog. You know? That's kind of what you're doing. Very specific vlog.
The sauce. He is here referencing the right-wing propaganda movement to frame things like Drag Queen Story Hour as being inherently predatory towards children and turning them trans, hitting them with the trans ray. Part of the problem here is that the audience for this kind of video is so fully bought into right-wing propaganda that an assertion like that can just go fully unchallenged. They listen to Ben Shapiro, they follow libs of TikTok, they see the constant misrepresentation of drag queens and trans people, grouping those together because they like to just sort of group them together, and how RuPaul is coming to your house to break through your window to hit your child over the head with a hardcover copy of The Giving Tree. It's very scary and very real stuff that's going on.
Also, why is submitting to a partner bad if it's done so by choice? You just said a thing with a negative tone without explaining why it's wrong, particularly when one of the most...
They might be explaining it further in the video. I obviously am someone who does pause videos and just make points. I try to, you know, correct my point later on in the video. You know. But, you know, that is partially
common things women ask for in a relationship is leadership from men.
Source? Can we...
Yeah, that's a dodgy statement. It's like, yes, we asked 5 people who in a survey said that they are tradwives, and we asked them, what is their most important feature in a relationship? These were our findings. Right, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's inaccurate, though. You know, that's not scientific in any way. It's too small a sample size. You didn't repeat it. You didn't have a control. Like all these, you know, that is no way. I'm not saying this was the actual thing he read. What I'm saying is that when you say that, yeah, it's not even like, oh, source it. It's like, well, where is that? Like, where is that actually from? Because if I gave you a source, that's all well and good, and you would even read the source and go, oh, gee, this is... But that's not how it's designed. It's not designed to do that. It's designed to, you know, have the result. Anyway. But anyway, even besides all that, it's not even that, oh, you have to have your sources. Like, even if you have a source, right, it's like, okay, but where is the source actually from? And you can't always get that from reading it. And I think that's partially the issue of people thinking, well, I cite my sources. Dodgy, you know, because, you know, and you don't always get the best information from those things. But when you have something, you have to ask, but like, where really, like, not where is your source, but like, what was your source? Like, specifically dig into it, into what the information was, you know? Because just, if you don't do that, that's just, you know. Anyway, back to the video.
Get a source! Me, when I pull an idea out of thin air, the most commonly cited thing that women...
I mean, to be fair, it may not be pulled out of thin air. It may be just pulled from a bullshit area, you know. Like, there probably is some website on the internet or some paper that has that written down somewhere. I'd like to find out what exactly they did to get that information. But it probably is there, to be fair. Just, it's still nonsense.
One is for me to go to bed at my bedtime. The woman is my mom, and she represents the thoughts and feelings of women across the globe. Also, he's like, you're using this negative tone without explaining why it's wrong. You're 40 seconds into the video. The video hasn't started. This is the intro.
Yeah, I do feel like it is a bit of a usual thing of saying, you 40 seconds in, like, No, but like, you know, that's not exactly fair, but you know. Because for the thing, it's just always a problematic thing. I know I'm getting to this. Obviously, I have to.
The points are being listed out, and then they're gonna go in detail if you watch the video.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is watch the video. But this person is allergic to pre-watching.
I mean, I generally don't pre-watch either, but as I try to correct mistakes, one thing I would say is don't like okay. Sometimes I do this, you know. So I go like, yeah, here we are now. I'm on a full screen area. See, I do that, but I don't like have like a stock photo or like anything like that. You know, it's more. It's just this. So I'm doing less editing. Anyway. I don't know.
We love on this channel. We love it when they're contradicted later, and then they just don't even bring it up. But maybe he's a mind reader. Let's watch.
The tradwife trend doesn't exist in isolation. It's linked to deeply regressive political.
Keep in mind, I said linked, not is. So that'll be important.
And social movements such as Christian and white nationalism and anti-feminism.
Well, we knew they couldn't make it the whole video without calling someone far right. Ignoring the...
You do realize some people are far right. Like, that's just true. That's just objectively true. Little Benny is far right. Jordan... I don't know what's going on with Jordan. He seems to be far right, but also... there's something wrong with him. You know, he's just a very sad individual. I mean, very, very sad. I mean, someone... It just feels like, you know, like an old animal. You just go, well, he's got so much pain in him, so many fleas, and you just think, we're on the barn, and you know, well, I'm not condoning shooting Jordan Peterson, to be clear. But what I'm trying to say though is that, you know, some people are far right. You just gotta admit that it's very interesting people who are actually generally far right themselves. Like, oh, these lefties always bring it back to the far right, as if no far right person exists. Like, no, it couldn't be that. They couldn't be right, because that would be admitting, I guess, that, you know, your ideology is very, 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 very closely linked with people who are, you know, Nazi sympathizers. Too. Also, one side thing, Nazis in America, very stupid people. You do realize, had the Nazis succeeded and, you know, you were living at that time, you'd be dead too, most likely. Anyway. We can go back to that.
I bet if you actually surveyed the women who run these tradwife channels, none of them listen to Nick Fuentes.
Yes, linked and the same. Okay. First of all, when someone says linked, that could even in the most extreme terms, would generally just mean they're linked as in people watch both. It doesn't mean that they are watching them, because, like, you know, that makes no sense. You know, for example, I've watched you know, stupid, you know, far right Christians before. Does that make my channel a stupid far right Christian channel? No. However, were my viewers to exclusively watch far right Christian stuff, would that indicate possibly? That would. So first of all, it wouldn't even be the person. It would be more the people watching the channel. And actually that, it's also just the views expressed by them, you know? It's called the pipeline.
When I make stuff up, I love the way he does that. I bet if you asked these people this thing, they'd say what I think, because that's how statistics work.
Connections can also be more explicit. One mum influencer called Wife with a Purpose issued a white...
Oh my god. Stephen King rightly says we can't restore a nation with somebody else's babies. I'm issuing a white baby challenge. I made 6. Macho beat me. Sorry, that I think that blew the microphone out. Jesus. My god, that's something else. That's something else. Oh my god, amazing.
Baby challenge, calling on women to have as many white babies as possible. This is an idea central to neo-Nazism.
I love how it's showing a Christian nationalist and then a white nationalist is just calling people far right with no basis. They are those things. They are self-proclaimed. You can see it in the photo. It's look at the shirt. Sure. Listen to Nick Fuentes anytime he's talking. That's what he is. It's okay to just like
I mean that's
live in reality, you know.
Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like,
I mean, not really.
Well, he was also really fucking cool.
We knew that.
No, not really. Kind of an Egypt, actually. I mean, as I said, it's remarkable. It's remarkable that Nazis lost. I mean, that man, Dunkirk, Battle of Britain, so many instances where they were winning, and literally, if they did nothing, just kept doing the thing they were doing, they would have won. You know, not fighting in the cold, in the winter. If they could have kept doing that, they probably would have won. You know, if they kept, bombing our air bases, they would have won. If they kept, shooting down people in Dunkirk, they would have won. So many instances where they didn't even need to didn't even need to do something. Just don't stop doing it. And yet they did. And some people say that came from Hitler himself, which kind of makes it seem as if, I don't know, he was like didn't want to win so quickly or something. Like what? I don't know what it was, but apparently he just wasn't fucking that smart. So, no, actually. He also failed many times. Like, he didn't even win the election. He just
they couldn't make it the whole video without calling someone far right.
He also just, once again, puts words in her mouth. She didn't say that the women...
Yeah.
She said these Tradwife accounts listen to Nick Fuentes. She said...
Why is it...
something different than that, which...
Yeah, it's linked.
Something different than that, which you can run it back and listen if you want, but it wasn't that.
Also, how are Christians regressive? I mean, Muslims...
What? What?
Muslims have traditional values. Are they regressive
wait,
too?
Are you actually... Sorry. I'll go back a little bit just before we... Are you actually saying, like, how are Christians regressive? Some Muslims are also regressive, so how could Christians be? Maybe two people can be regressive at the same time, Regressive isn't like a box that, only one person can hold at a time. Multiple people can be regressive at the same time. I know it's astonishing, but it is a thing that actually exists. Also, Muslims are a little bit more progressive than, many Christians in many ways, and you would be surprised by that maybe, but it's kind of true, if you think about it. Also, one side thing, technically, if we want to talk about religion, Christians are on a bit of a inaccuracy side more than Muslims. I'm not going to get into that. Basically, just there's many issues, and you just don't. If you're a Christian, maybe don't go down that road, because you don't have the best history of that.
Also, how are Christians regressive? I mean, Muslims have traditional values. Are they regressive too? It's weird that only one religion was mentioned during the entire video. But again, you're just...
I have to ask you one thing. I wonder, buddy, what was the main religion of all those little tradwives? I wonder what that might be. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, it turns out, yeah. Wow, that's a shocker. Also, I don't really think religion was the main focus, but anyway. So that's also inaccurate anyway.
Saying things are bad with no reason why.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had to put on a coat because, sometimes you're just a Billy boy. He asked the question here, how are Christians regressive? But that's not what she said. She said that Christian nationalism and anti-feminism are regressive. And those aren't the same thing as Christianity.
Well, to be fair, most Christians don't actually follow their own religion. So, what I'm trying to say is, if you're a capitalist, you can't really be a Christian in the true sense of the word. As I said already, most people will pick and choose to some degree, Even if they're like super Bible-esque, they'll just ignore some things. They'll be like the letter to down to the letters of the Bible, but not for everything in most cases. Because if they were, they would have to have a pretty kind of semi-socialist outlook on the world. Just saying,
Nice that when he's done making what he thinks is a point, he says,
what?
Also,
it
really makes it easy to debunk each thing he says. Because they're separated, nice and easy. Bringing up the fact that Ash is a Muslim and finger wagging. Well, actually, to an argument she
Yeah, but it doesn't even work as an argument anyway.
That's what I would call it. Goofy behavior. Preaching to the choir behavior. Because they don't care. They aren't intellectually logged in. They are getting mad. This video is making them mad. It's supposed to make them mad. And it's
I'm sorry about this.
It's over. It is 99% likes.
It's part of a wider shift of young people being dissatisfied with
Neoliberalism
and
likes and
wanting
dislikes are not a good ratio to use, and I think this is one of the reasons why YouTube kind of, sort of turned around a bit, because people treat a video as if, it has lots of dislikes. Most people do not dislike a video when they didn't like it, when it wasn't to their taste. They just click away. They click away. However, some people, when they just get a hint of a dislike, so it's a bit of an imbalance. Which viewers you're attracting, Also, maybe your video is hated. It's absolutely hated. All your viewers hate your video. Hate it. Dislike. I've got videos before where I've had dislikes, and you know why that is. It's like that wasn't like a bad video. It wasn't a good one though. It wasn't like a good video, but it wasn't bad either. Except I was discussing certain people. Now, obviously, would I expect lots of likes? No, I wouldn't. It wasn't a good video, but I would expect that many of those dislikes would have been motivated by certain parameters, such as discussion of certain people, which is why I feel like the like-dislike ratio is not a good one to use. Definitely when it comes to reaction videos, and definitely when it comes to like.
I have no idea what she just said, so I'm going to go by what the red highlighted text says.
I'm uneducated, and I'm making that your problem.
That's an interesting one. Yeah. Okay. So what's that? Let's scale that back a bit, will we? Let's go.
It is 99% likes.
It's part of a wider shift of young people being dissatisfied with neoliberalism.
Okay, so it's part of a shift of young people being dissatisfied with neoliberalism. Okay.
And wanting social change.
I have no idea what she just said, so I'm going to go by what the red.
Very basic thing. Like they're dissatisfied with neoliberalism, so they want change, and this is change of a form. Yeah, it's very simple, but I guess.
Red highlighted text says,
I'm uneducated, and I'm making that your problem. I remember there's some old anti-SJW videos that did this same thing.
So, like most people who grew up immersed in the neoliberal ideology of the West.
What? Neoliberal ideology of the West. Let's just break that one down for a moment, shall we? Neo.
Oh, Tom Nicholas. Well, at least he improved. I'm joking. But my God, English people. Seriously.
Meaning new. Liberal. The idea that the world should be governed on a principle of liberty and equality for all people.
Just love the neo, meaning new. N being a letter in the alphabet. E being another letter in the alphabet, Liberal. Lib. The root word. It's like, okay, yes, but you're not doing an insight into the origins of the word neoliberal, which is obviously not really relevant to the political ideology of the day. If we're breaking down words, don't make it a political video then, because you're going to be like, yes, well, this is what the word should mean, according to the arbitrary rules that have been set out by the ancestors. But I'm not going to discuss what it actually means.
And this is supposed to somehow be a bad thing to think.
Loudly proclaiming that you don't know what a word means. It's supposed to be like a comedic thing, like, oh, the woke left is going so far with their terms, they're just making words up. When neoliberalism is really a
it's
101 concept. At least understanding the basics of the term.
Yeah, it's
what she's trying to say here. It's not a simple concept, but acting like it's a new thing it's silly. It's silly.
It is relatively simple, to understand at least, Obviously, when it comes to individual policy issues, which side would a neoliberal fall on, that's where it gets a little bit more complex, for example, a libertarian, not a neoliberal, I want to make that clear. A libertarian is not a neoliberal. A libertarian, would you say a libertarian should be pro or anti-abortion? You know? Should they be anti-abortion? Because they would say, oh, everyone should have a right to life. Not really true, but anyway. Okay, there. But also, if you stop that person getting an abortion, that's a restriction on their freedoms. While the fetus is actually not even a legal person and definitely not a citizen of your country. So has no rights whatsoever when it comes to citizenship. Maybe you'd like to make them a citizen, but then the argument occurs, well, what if they were born from a foreign country, in a foreign country, or conceived in a foreign country? If they're conceived in a foreign country, then technically speaking, they're foreign. But what if they move to America, the person who's birthing them, and they intend to give birth in America? Technically meaning that when that, if I should say, that fetus was to become a baby, they will be American. But technically speaking, while they're a fetus, they're a foreigner because they were conceived elsewhere. That's a tangent. But what I'm trying to say is that there's all sorts of deep arguments we can get into when it comes to politics and which people side and which side. I don't know why I didn't just use neoliberal but anyway, back to the video. Oh, for God's sake, another ad? Are you seriously kidding? Come on, YouTube. For God's sake. My God, YouTube is one of those. Well, it's not their fault.
I have no idea what she just said, so I'm going to go by what the red highlighted text says. A misguided expression of the desire for social change. Again, just one little example of what you're talking about to show why the trend is bad. I understand that this is like
It's the start of the section, buddy boy. It ain't gonna have an example before you even talk about it. That would be weird. That would be weird. Cheese. Specifically cheddar cheese. Types of food. Okay, maybe put the example after thing, because otherwise we're just sort of like, what are you talking about food? Or like, what are you talking about?
an outline of your speech, but at least give me a teaser, so if I only watch the intro, I know why this is bad, as opposed to only knowing that this is bad.
Oh my God, dude. Oh my God, he admitted. He's just admitting it. This is responsible content creation 101. It's one thing if you're a viewer and you need a little bit more context in the introduction to a video, but you're a content creator making a critique. You are critiquing the ideas here, you disagree with them, and you are so lazy that you can't just watch the video first. That's all you have to do. Watch the video first. I need a little treat, a little teaser before I can decide if I want to eat the meal.
Surely between calling your opponents far-right extremists and all that expensive and fancy editing, you can afford to
Sorry. Expensive? Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on your definition of expensive. Obviously, I would say, if you spend 50 grand on editing a year, sure, that might seem like a lot, but it is a lot, but it's not expensive in the editing sense of the word. Like when you actually think about it, you're paying someone to do editing and possibly additional stuff. I'm not great at editing, as you probably can tell. But okay, I'm also not good at reaction videos. But you know what I mean. What I'm trying to say is, reaction videos are a lot easier to do. So I'm better at them. In a very I'm better at them. Because I'm very bad at editing, and reaction videos are very easy. So, anyway, I wouldn't say they
do that. But maybe it's not the purpose of a media outlet that clearly bleeds money to be honest about their portrayal of info. And when I say bleeds money, I mean that this 300.
Okay. Now I'd like to dive into this.
Sub channel called Novara Media has trouble hitting 50K views on an average video.
Okay, so let's break this down. First of all, this is the channel of Novara Media. We'll load up there, okay?
Yet somehow is able to afford a staff of multiple pundits, editors, expensive equipment, and a studio.
I would say.
With all these expenses.
One thing, 2 studios. The pundits are not necessarily permanently employed, though. Obviously, you have Michael Walker, you have Ash, you have, a good people who are regular people, but you also have people who are a little less regular, and obviously you can't just, not credit them. That would be bad. So you still have to credit them, but they're not regular. contributors, you know what I mean? Like, they regularly contribute in the sense that they're there, like, every month or so. But, like, they're not all the time. They're not on a schedule, if you know what I mean. But anyway.
There is no way this channel makes money, so clearly someone is paying for this
one small thing. A little bit of information. So, Novara Media currently sits at, and this is just discussing the views thing. So when it comes to Novara Media and its views, this is how many views they have. So here we are. So 116,543,293 views. Okay. Now let's move over to Think Before You Sleep. Oh, sudden jump. 113,494,221 views. Wow, it looks like you have less views. Now, I'm not going to play the view game. I have substantially less views than you have. I have about 10,000 views. That's not a lot. In comparison, at least. I mean, it is a good bit, but like, it's not a lot in comparison to you. But here's the thing. You can't go, oh, they're clearly not making money when they're a bigger channel than you are, despite having less subscribers, so, And also, one small thing here. When discussing views per video, for example, we cannot just go, oh, this person gets, for example, a Mr. Beast video might get, 100 million views, but then the Jacksepticeye video might get, 2. Now, obviously, that's significantly less views, but the thing is, Jacksepticeye makes a lot of videos in the time. So could Jacksepticeye technically reach that point? Possibly. So, 290,000. 317,000. These are a week apart. So, we'll take the 317,000 in 2 weeks. Okay. 317,000 in 2 weeks. So, let's break into Novara Media's views. Here we are. So we're saying, like, sorry, where is it gone now? Okay, so we're saying, in a 2 week period, So okay, 2 weeks. Okay, so let's go back to 2 weeks time, 2 weeks in the past, and we see actually there's a lot of videos here. Huh? There's a lot of videos, a lot more than this has. Okay, maybe that's because they've got a bigger staff. Possibly that might be part of it. Loading up a bit. We'll just be back in a moment. How about that? Okay, so here we are. So we've got 119. We've got 36. We've got 207. We've got 54. We've got 49. We've got 23. We've got 35. Oh, we still have a load more to go though. We've got 24. We've got 96. We've got 133. We've got 28. Oh my. We've got 55. We've got 41. We've got 21. We've got 196. We've got 106. We've got 31. Still going strong. 31, we've got 23, we've got 76, we've got 30, we've got 51, we've got, we're still going strong. We've still got a good bit to go. We've got 28, we've got 33, we've got 39. I mean, this just keeps going, doesn't it? We've got 35, we've got 19, we've got 36, we've got 97. We have 25. We've got 49. I'm sorry for this, but like this just continues going on, doesn't it? It continues going on. And then we've got 23, 39, and 34. That's a lot. That's a lot. That is quite a lot. For information, you know how much that is? Do you know how much it is? That's 2,173,000. So, question for you. That appears to be 4 times And actually, if we just want to say like that's 4 times. The videos you've uploaded in that period of time, it's about 4 times that. So, if we're going to talk about views, let's not talk nonsense. Come on, let's be honest. Obviously, if you upload more, people can't catch every single video. However, the videos they do watch, they may subscribe on, which means that you may get overall more video views, but less views in an individual video. Now, that's just a little bit of information for you. 173,000 views, which is about 2,173,000. That's a lot of views in comparison to 317 and 292. So that's 609. Okay, interesting one. Okay, so almost, almost a quarter. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That's interesting. That's an interesting little discussion we had there for ourselves. Anyway, let's go with the video. I just wanted to go off on a little exploration of views, you know. I don't think.
This is where a fun conspiracy begins. Yeah. He speculates that this channel must be bleeding money, while not mentioning the fact that they have thousands of donors and paying subscribers.
Yeah, for information, they have... Oh, yeah, we can dive into this, by the way, as well. Currently, Novara Media has a page where you can donate them directly. And, you know, instead of something like for example, a Patreon. And they have over 10,000 paying viewers, which, you know, is a good bit of money a month. You know, would be, you know, looking at, you know, a good bit of money. So even if it just pays £1, that's 100,000 a year. That seems like a good bit of money, you know. Now let's go over to Think Before You Sleep's Patreon. I wonder, maybe this will be you know, similar sort of stuff. You know, it'll be basically the same thing, I guess. You know, because obviously they're bleeding money. So if it's from billionaire backed things, they must have like a similar size thing. Oh no, they have about 1/100th of that. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, kind of seems like maybe Novara Media has more money coming in than Think Before You Sleep, because they have more views and more paying subscribers. Imagine that. Imagine that. Also, one side thing, they use Parler apparently, which is, yeah, interesting. Don't worry, guys, they're not a fascist. The left always calling people fascists. Give them money on PayPal as well. My God. Anyway, just a bit of a discussion there, you know. Just a interesting discussion. Just a general sort of like vibes about these sort of things. You know? Interesting vibes. Anyway, back to the video. I'm just saying, like, you know, we kind of just need to be honest with these things.
Outside of YouTube. He mentions it later, but, you know, that's why this claim that they're bleeding money is speculative at best and dishonest at worst. Also, to be clear,
because I mean, like, as we've seen, they have 100 times the subscribers. Now, obviously, maybe gets a lot of money at PayPal, but they also have a PayPal thing set up, and, you know, also about 4 times the views. So, you know, I'm just saying, like, it looks like maybe they might make a little bit more money off of the stuff than you seem to give them credit for, because they would have at least like 4 times the income.
This is a media organization that is building a YouTube presence, and just because that YouTube presence has yet to become profitable on its own somehow means that there must be...
Yeah, I mean, they don't take sponsorships, but, you know,
secret people behind the scenes pulling the strings. This gets really good, though, here.
What is Novara Media? Who is this presenter, Ash Sarkar? Well, I found this video of her on Piers Morgan where she says this.
Because I'm literally a communist.
Actually,
that's not a shock. But what is a shock is that you can buy jewelry of that quote or t-shirts that say marks on them.
Sorry, will you stop playing the video with you for once? Sorry. One thing, that's not Piers Morgan. That's Good Morning Britain, which he was dismissed, shall we say, off of. So also, yeah. Good that you weren't shocked.
On the Novara Media website shop, which is very capitalist of them. Wait, did that jewelry page say topple and burn? Yep, it did. You can't make this stuff up.
Oh my god, that is okay. Will we find out what topple and burn is? Okay, let's dive into that. Here we are. Oh, it looks like a rings, heavy metals, and eyewear and apparel shop. Huh. Imagine that. That's a shocker, isn't it, huh? Who would have known? Who would have known? Maybe it's just a topple and burn is like, a really good name, and they're kind of like, they're like an apparel company. They do apparel. I'm just saying. Kind of seems like, maybe they do that sort of thing. Anyway, that is that, and we'll get back to the video now. So, here we are.
A group of communists literally partnered with a company called Topple and Burn, which really just signifies the sort of violent behavior that communists are known for. This stuff is just right in your face.
He's actually got a point here. Topple and Burn is a pretty dangerous dog whistle. Some of you may recall the January 6th protesters decked out in their merch. As soon as you put on the necklace, it makes you storm the White House. It's true. Many are saying.
I love that. Like, I just love that. Yeah, you do realize, first of all, the majority of things that topple and burn tend not to have toppled and burned because of violence. They tend to topple and burn because someone said, minor violence, but like no real violence. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, for example, if I say, let's say, let's say this pedophile holding out in a pedophile ring in a pizzeria, and you go and you topple the pizzeria pedophile ring and it burns. Very violent of you. Well, it turns out maybe it was in that case, but it doesn't have to be. I don't know why I made it.
Anyway, then I stumbled across their Support Us page where it says, defy billionaire-backed media and back truly independent journalism. I wish I recorded my initial laughter while reading this because I work in this industry and there is no way that they could afford this staff with a small YouTube.
You work in this industry? You work in the journalism industry? Really?
Because I work in this industry and there is no way that they could afford this staff with a small.
Okay, how many paying subscribers do you think they have? Like, they have like 100 times your paying subscribers and 4 times your views. Almost, not quite, in both cases. Like that's okay. That's like, you gotta be honest with these things,
Reading this because I work in this industry and there is no way that
they also get like super chats from like YouTube.
They could afford this staff.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 people. 16 people amongst, okay, we'll say 2 million views, so we'll say like, okay, well, that's like, what? Something like 500,000 maybe a year? I don't know. But yeah, it's a good deal of money, actually. It's like, yeah, I feel like actually, no. That's not really true. It's a bit of a weird one. Like, look, if we return to the Novara Media channel, for example, you can return to the channel, and I know this might seem boring, but we can return to the channel. We'll just take a look into the channel. In addition to the backing, they also have like super chats and people giving them money on the live streams. So that would be a little bit more, wouldn't it? Anyway.
With a small YouTube channel and independent donors.
Okay. I work in this industry. You have a YouTube channel, man. You have a YouTube channel. Anyone with a blog is just working in the industry now. And look, I get that he's trying to say he has a YouTube channel. It's successful. He understands the rough breakdown of ad revenue and things like that. Still very funny to call.
One interesting thing about ad revenue, I may be wrong about this, so take this with a grain of salt, but as far as I can tell, ad revenue is based off of your viewers interacting with the ad, i.e., if they skip it, you don't get the money. As in, they have to watch the ad fully or click on the ad. Now, obviously, if you were to be a left-wing person, your ads would tend to be a little less high because your viewers are going to be less stupid when they go and click an ad on a YouTube video. So there's that. That's another reason why left-wing people have less ad revenue, because, well, fact of the matter is, their audience is just more intelligent and they're just not worth as much. That's my, as far as I can tell, that's my opinion as I work in the industry. Work is a very, although work actually, by the way, doesn't even mean you've got a job in it, because you've got a job and then work doesn't even mean you have a job in it. It just means you do labor in it. Which I guess I do.
Having a YouTube channel, working in the industry. The industry he doesn't work in, though, is the journalism industry, the one that takes into account the donors and speculates on another channel's earnings. Pocket watching. This is called pocket watching. I'm going to skip ahead after this part because he's just doing a thing where he's just like being kind of mean, I guess.
Novara Media wants you to know that they know what the cool kids are into.
Mainstream media sucks.
It literally
Amazing dance moves, Ash.
Why you
Fuck you, prick.
shitting on Ash's dance moves? She's just having a good time in that video. Come on, man. I challenge you, think before you sleep, to post a video of you dancing and see how people on the internet talk about you. Just saying. He uploads a stock image of Aruba bouncing up and down or something. What? I'm literally one of the images. I'm dancing. This is me dancing.
Now let's go over the numbers. Novara Media boasts that they, at the time of the video, had 200,000 subs and 2.5 million monthly views, which sounds like a lot, but it's not nearly enough to accrue 6,000 donors. I don't know any 200K subscriber channels with anywhere near that number of donors.
That's kind of sad. That's kind of, no, that's just kind of sad. Like, oh no, you can't get that many donors from that many people. I only have 143 on my Patreon. Oh, well, I mean, maybe. It just might be that, those people are kind of inclined to support them. Because unlike you, who are a talentless piece of shit, they are actually offering journalism for free. And the idea is that in return for getting the free journalism, they reward them by paying a nice gift to back them, because they understand that, if they're not backed, they kinda don't report on the news, and then all you get is people like yourself and myself who are like, yeah, I think this is my opinion. Indeed, it's very valuable because you can't form an opinion of your own. Not a chance of it. No, I could be a curator of content. Sure. But at the end of the day, that's not a skill. You're not skilled. I'm not saying no, I'm saying, you're man. So, when you say that, you fundamentally misunderstand that. I know, obviously, people will throw money at shit all the time, but it is factually accurate to say it is worth better to give money to Novara Media than it is to you, or even someone like me. If you have to choose between giving me money and Novara Media money, it's probably better to give Novara Media money, because what am I going to do? Okay, I like to do journalistic stuff to cover the news and stuff, but specifically this channel, give this channel money? No! Why would you? I'm just someone who's watching a video. What's that? You know? It's like giving a gaming YouTuber money. Like, why? You're basically the equivalent of someone who's watching their friend play a game. Except they're not your friend. And, you know, it's just like, what are you doing in that scenario, you know? You're just, it's, you know.
I get like double their monthly views. I have promoted donations.
No, you don't.
In the past on many videos, and I don't even have 200 monthly supporters between Patreon and Subscribestar.
This is...
Oh, he
one's so good. This one's so good.
He actually brought it up.
Failed at building a Patreon audience, so everyone must also do that. Again, the logic here is just bonkers.
Yeah, like 300,000, roughly speaking, per video to 140. That's 1 in 2,000. One in 2,000. Roughly. I know, I just want to make the clear point. Fertility does have more views than he does. So, you know, once again, no, it is not factually accurate to say he has more views than he does. He just doesn't. So that's just a factually incorrect statement.
The reason I'd imagine no one wants to sub to his Patreon is because he's not a particularly entertaining or talented creator.
Also, as far as I can tell, he doesn't really post stuff there. So, you know, it just is a donation.
He just shovels the right-wing slop into the audience's mouths. This is modern-day Fox News. They sit there and they watch. They get mad at the source material because it's being misrepresented, of course. And then they go on about their days. Paying extra to hear more of this guy's voice? No thanks. None for me, thanks. I thank you, but none for me, thanks.
And I don't even have 200 monthly supporters between Patreon and Subscribestar. So who gave them the exposure to get thousands of donors? You would...
They had a radio show, buddy. They had a radio show. I know that it obviously is ignorant to say, do your research, like, do a basic bit of research. But, you know, I know that. They had a radio show. They were on the radio. Novara Media was on the radio. They've had a channel, you know, for 10 years at this point. Okay? For 10 years. Okay, so once again, we'll go through this again. Okay, so, you know, remember when we took a look at the About section of Novara Media? I know this video is going on for long, and I know you probably aren't interested in this, but please, just hear me out on this one, right? Novara Media started the YouTube channel on the 2nd of September 2012. And obviously, that's not necessarily like the... I mean, for example, I started my YouTube career in early enough 2016. You know, that's not exactly... Also, I say career. You know, but what I'm trying to say is, ultimately... When exactly did Think Before You Sleep start his YouTube channel? 2018. Wow. That is 6 years later. That is 6 years later. I wonder what might have occurred there. I do not have a popularity on the internet. I started in 2016. Obviously, there are, I would say, a good few channels are more popular than mine is, even though I started in 2016. However, here is the thing. Here is the small little problemo. That leg up of time does give you a bit of a benefit. First of all, viewers are able to have more of a back catalogue, so they're more likely to subscribe. Your videos in general are more likely to be, because you have more videos, YouTube pushes them, boom, they get more subscribers. Your viewers are there for longer, they're there, so they're more likely to stay there, and all sorts of things like this. Just fundamentally a problem there. And yeah, to wrap it up, they had a radio show, so that's one of the reasons why they were popular, because they had a radio show, and then they launched the website, and then they have the YouTube channel, and that, you know, has, you know, people going to it anyway.
Need monthly views at least in the tens of millions to get that.
Go right now to any of the top pages on Patreon.
Also, one small little thing. You know, they're on, like, things like, you know, BBC Question Time and things like that. Those are, you know, outlets that get millions of views. Imagine, if you will, you're a young commie in England or elsewhere, and you see a clip from BBC Question Time, And then Ash Sarkar comes along and starts spitting to the truth. Like, what? This is good stuff. And you see, where can I read this? And you Google the name and boom, oh, look, they're at Novara Media. So you see what I mean? This is how these things work. If I was on network television, guess what? You can build an audience off of that, you know? And then the fact that you are building an audience, the fact that you get a sudden push of people coming in, oh, I say something like, you know, like maybe like a few hundred, a few thousand, that tells you, oh, look, this channel's getting views. Let's promote them a little bit, you know?
Think before you sleep. I'm talking to you. Maybe you'll respond to this, maybe you won't, but if you're watching my video, go to the thing and look at the viewership. They don't need 10 million. They don't even need 1 million. It's just, you need to just have a good content and a good relationship with the audience. It's harder for you because you do propaganda and they don't care about you. They care about getting mad. That's it. Okay, this is where the real expose begins. Here we go. This is good.
Here's where things get more interesting. I went to this website here and found that Novara Media partners with a group called the Media Fund, who also partners with a group called Open Democracy.
The Media Fund is a left-of-center cooperative organization that raises money for left-of-center media outlets. Other partners the fund include is the Bristol Radio Film Festival, Corporate Watch, Diasma, UK, the New Socialist Open Democracy, and the People News. It kind of seemed like maybe the Media Fund is, you know, paying Open Democracy, perhaps? You know?
Open Democracy receives money from the Ford Foundation, and it also received hundreds of thousands of dollars in 2021 from the Open...
Yeah, but, no. Okay. Open Democracy, right, first of all, is not communist. Okay? So, you know, it's just not, right? Now, we've Open Democracy. Now, Open Democracy get funding from the people you're saying. That's what you're saying. Now, they also get funding from this Media Trust, which is a organization that collects funds and gives funds to left-of-center outlets. They give Open Democracy money. They also appear to have given Novara Media money. Now, imagine if you will, you're working for somebody. Your co-worker Bob. Bob is paid by the same person as you are. Imagine if someone said, oh, how come you're getting money from Bob? You're not getting money from Bob. Bob and you have a similar source of income. They've used the same source of income from one location. Okay? That is not the same as getting money from Bob. Bob isn't giving you money, okay? Like, what? What is this? What is this?
Open Society Foundations.
Notice what just happened there. He just jumped from one thing to the next thing to the next thing without proving a real connection. Novara Media partners with the Media Fund. The Media Fund partners with Open Democracy. Notice Novara Media doesn't partner with Open Democracy. It's a guilt by association.
No. This is not a good argument. Sorry, no. But no, this isn't a good argument though, because this is how media outlets they do work with dark money, which is, you know, you do have this thing of like, oh, fun, and this one is funded by this one, this, and then that one is funded by this one. But that isn't even what is going on here. The Media Fund is saying we fund both of these. As I said, it is the equivalent of saying your colleague, your fellow employees are giving you money. No, they're not. They're just getting money from the same person. But both Bob and you both have other jobs that you get money from. Do you understand? Jesus. My God, that's like, ugh. How?
Intermediary party.
Some of you tinfoilers might already know who runs the Open Society Foundations, but for those of you who don't, let's go to their website. Oh, look, it's billionaire George Soros. I swear when you study this stuff enough, it feels like...
Oh my God. I'm just going to go on to see right now. Okay. Careful with this one, like.
All paths eventually lead to George Soros.
Okay, that's weird comment there. Again, Novara Media...
That is a decision to take. Like, yeah, that's apparently these videos are scripted, so, you know, that's an interesting one to take. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't write that into a script, to be honest, because, well, it's psychotic.
Soros.
Okay, that's weird comment there. But again, Novara Media is not funded by George Soros. This is full speculation and guilt by association, dressed up as investigative journalism. It's horrible. It's hilariously bad.
We're free for all to access, free from ad partnerships, free from paywalls, and free from the influence of the super rich.
The founder of Novara...
I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. Being on YouTube, I'm pretty sure they do run ads. I mean, it would make sense.
This guy here, Aaron Bastani, has also written for the George Soros-funded Open Democracy, and...
Yeah, he's a journalist.
Novara Media did a podcast with Open Democracy's founder as well. I mean, so who exactly is funding you again?
My favorite tech YouTuber did an interview.
The way that their viewers give them money, and well, see, the thing is, it could technically be construed as fraud to claim that you have money coming in from people when you don't. That could even be an investigation of money laundering, because guess what? That's fucking weird. If I was a tax inspector and you had a billionaire funneling money through a media organization by pretending to be multiple people, that would be weird. And I would be going, I think we'll have to do investigation. Like that will be the result of that. Investigation for money laundering and tax fraud. Now, obviously, you might say, well, that's actually not going to happen because we've got a billionaire backer. Well, you'll be fine. Well,
interview with Bill Gates, and ever since then, it's all woke 5G vaccine propaganda. Again, trying to prove a link by association. So snarky and smug, and just so obviously wrong and reaching.
Also, according to The Guardian, this group called the Media Fund that Novara Media is a part of has all sorts of regulations, which means not only do they...
Sorry, what?
Media Fund that Novara Media is a part of has all sorts of regulations, which means not only do they probably have billionaire donors, but they also have a politically driven regulatory organization that they have to adhere to.
Okay. But they are left-wing, though. Like, Novara Media can't go out and say, oh, yes, this Ron DeSantis guy has got some... Okay, no, yeah, I don't think they would be saying that, though, They wouldn't be saying that. Although, yeah, fuck this. Anyway.
The National Union of Journalists Code of Conduct, which is to demonstrate a commitment to factual and accurate...
Like, the thing is, this is basic stuff, You can't lie in... obviously, so many journalists break this. But it's a basic. Like, don't lie. Novara Media aren't allowed to lie. That's that's awful stuff, yeah. They aren't allowed to lie or they could lose funding. From one source.
Reporting, and within a year of joining, become fully unionized workplaces. It does say new partners must be approved by existing partners, suggesting that right-wing outlets are unlikely to be selected. But again, does that prove an agenda? No, it doesn't. It shows a general trend of the types of publications that get selected, but the wokeism comes before that selection. They're already woke. There's no one telling them to be woke. Again, I'm using woke in the...
I mean, that is how everything works, though. How exactly do you think you get hired to be on Fox News? You don't get hired if you're going, yeah, man, like, this Donald Trump fella, he's not very good, and I mean, the Republicans in general, they feel very, very fascist in a way. You're not going to get hired for Fox News if that's your media history, You're not going to get hired if you're a communist to Fox News. You might get, given a guest spot, maybe, but you're not going to get hired as a permanent integral part of the news media network, So,
way they understand it. To them, it means left-wing, liberal, anything over there. That's what it means. Shout out to Little Joel.
Hey, booby champs.
Okay, so now we're moving forward to the meat and potatoes here, which is the claim about propaganda. The first claim being it's full of strawman arguments. This video from Ash Sarkar. Let's set aside the fact that the video so far has had billions of strawman arguments and just see what he's got to say.
More importantly, though, and now that we know who's behind this company, this tradwife video from Novara Media is an excellent example of using heavy amounts of propaganda to get you to believe a certain narrative without any
Yeah, that's not what I'm doing at all.
actual evidence that what they are saying is true. So let's get back to Ash Sarkar and discuss how the propaganda works by first showing you how they only use one-sided strawman arguments.
Like with the example of finances, the idea of submission is that by giving up her independence, autonomy, and power, a woman will be taken care of by a good and godly man. She serves him, he serves Christ, but only one person is scrubbing out the toilet.
True.
Okay, and only one person is dealing with an asshole boss. Only one person.
Oh my God almighty. Oh my God. Not really, buddy. Not really. First of all, a husband can most certainly be so you know, no. And second to that, not all bosses are assholes. They are exploitative by definition, yes, but they're not necessarily assholes. Like, as long as you're not a communist, you can, in some workplaces you'll be fine, you know. Like, you won't be fine necessarily economically, but you'll be fine mentally as a workplace, you know. Like, you will be like, oh yes, I'm struggling at home paying the bills, but I actually enjoy my work and I'm fine with my work, and yes, it would be nice to have more pay, but I understand I'm not worth it. Now, obviously, are you not worth it? No, actually, you make a good deal of money for that business. But the point is, though, is that at the end of the day, it's not necessarily, first of all, the main thing is, you know, you can be sensitive towards the boss and be like, there's such a break, and like, yeah, I mean, other people are fine with it. Or you can be very, very, the boss can be treating you horribly and you're fine with it, you know? So that sort of position is a bit of an incorrect one. And obviously, husbands can be pricks all the time, you know?
And is repairing the stuff that breaks. Only one person is lifting the heavy stuff. Seriously, these feminists love to forget all the traditional male house chores, while at the same time being incredibly demeaning and insulting to men in their portrayals.
Oh, you look at him. He's insulted. Little wee boy now. Oh, look at him. Oh, my man, you know, buddy. It's okay. When you grow up, you'll be big and strong. It's okay.
You know, the reason Ash describes what the male's role is here as just serving Christ is that historically there is an imbalance. The idea that these traditional gender roles are a one-to-one exchange is false. That's why feminists historically have fought for what they've fought for. It's really pedantic to take Ash's outline of this idea and declare it a straw man when it's not even the argument. You're just taking everything she says and breaking it down like it's too much, it's bad, it's dishonest. Like, listen to the next part.
The influence of fundamentalist religion.
Don't serve me an ad, YouTube, at this point. Don't serve me an ad. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a massive issue, yeah. Okay.
She says, and breaking it down like it's too much, it's bad, it's dishonest. Like, listen to the next part.
The influence of fundamentalist religion extends far beyond whatever private arrangements a couple may have as part of a household.
Yes.
Tradwife culture is dominated by aggressively anti-abortion, anti-birth control, and anti-sex
Wait,
views.
hold on. I need to read out these things, so. Things I will not support as a woman.
Aggressively anti-abortion.
Satanic! Sorry, what's satanic again? I just need to find out, because it's so interesting.
Tradwife culture is dominated by aggressively anti-abortion,
Abortion is fill in the blank. Fill the blank with this first word that comes to your mind. The Tradwives Club say it's satanic.
Anti-birth control and anti-sex
views. What are you doing?
Aggressively anti-abortion, anti-birth control, and
hormonal birth control has made the whole generation of women sick.
Sex views.
Yeah.
Anti-birth control and anti-sex.
Sorry. In a post-feminist woke culture, promiscuity is glorified as sexual empowerment and sold to women as a false form of libertation that can, in certain cases, actually wind up binding them to many hidden forms of irreversible harm. Okay. I wonder why.
At the start of the video, he makes the point that Ash is declaring traditional gender roles as inherently misogynistic.
Somebody please save us from this deeply misogynistic movement where women are choosing to stay home instead of working a job.
But here she is very clearly refuting that notion.
And look, I'm not saying there's anything inherently degrading about being a mum or making nice meals. I like cooking elaborate dinners. For that matter, my boyfriend does too.
Why didn't he delete that part from the beginning of the video? Because he does not care about being honest. That's not the point here. The point here is shovel, 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 shovel.
I like cooking elaborate dinners. For that matter, my boyfriend does too.
Now, you might say it's just a coincidence that she talks about how she can make complex meals while making her boyfriend look stupid. Surely they aren't intentionally trying.
First of all, she didn't say complex, so that's bullshit to begin with. Did you not read the source? That's from Come Dine With Me. It's not actually... Okay, first of all, it is irresponsible if you are a public figure just to blast your partner onto the internet. Like, I'm sure you're fine with it, aren't you? I guess. I mean, you know, like, you can't just do that. That's very, very unethical. Anyway, but the point is, like, that's not her actual boyfriend, though. That's not how that works. Like, anyway. But anyway, back to the video. You know, like...
trying to make men look bad here.
Okay, this is where we get to this sort of incel vibes from this guy. She plays a clip of him, you know, being silly with the...
Which is, you know, not actually him. So,
TubeBuddy thumbnail analyzer.
For fuck's sake.
Which thumbnail will have the best...
No, actually, sorry. Shouldn't curse. Oh, for God's sake, Louis, come on.
Being silly with the whisker. And he's like, you're making him look so stupid. How could you do this? He must be so embarrassed that his girl is making him look like a cock. And it's like, bro, it's a silly clip. It's a silly clip. An example of him making an elaborate dinner and being a little silly while he does it. How is that her making him look bad? It's just funny. Super triggered and sensitive. At the slightest hint that a guy...
It is... Okay, I would understand, right, if that was, you know, on... Like, it didn't have the Come Dine With Me Channel 4 section there, and it was just, like, obviously, if you're not English, and you don't... Even I probably... No, even still, I think I recognize the clip from elsewhere, so, you know, I probably still realize, but like, what I'm trying to say is, if you were, you know, an American, and you never looked at English stuff, you never really looked at English content, you might look at that and go, okay, yeah, sure, that is a video of someone doing that, that's probably it. But it shows it. It shows the source. So, like, for someone who's like, show your sources and see here and see I see there, they're doing, and it's like, but man, like, you say you do research, but like the source of that clip is right there on screen. Like, I'd understand if it was maybe in the description, but like, it's on screen. Like, you know.
Guy is being poked fun at. And he's not even being poked fun at. They're
like, that would be like me going like, oh, that would be like someone reacting to my video and going, oh, what's this? Is this react? No, it's not just my video. I'm reacting to the person. You can see they're credited here. Do you understand? I'd understand if I was one of those, you know, YouTubers who just pulls a video and doesn't credit the person at all. But like, it's right there. See? Do you understand? Like, you can watch the video and oh my God.
For dating. It's fine. It's funny. Chill the fuck out.
Though the idea of women being confined to the home while men do things like go outside and work isn't exactly new.
Is there any comparative description here that doesn't attempt to make men look like crap? Women are confined to the home while men can just do whatever they want. Maybe they go outside and work, or maybe they won't.
I just love this sad fuck.
This video has BuzzFeed levels of self-awareness.
She didn't say men can do whatever.
Oh, one small interesting fact for you. BuzzFeed News is shutting down, yes. But guess what? BuzzFeed also owns the Huffington Post. So, a little fact for you there. A little interesting tidbit. A little fact-rooney there. So, technically speaking, their news ain't gone completely. Anyway. Just a little.
She said men are working. Somehow he has managed to get lazier than he already was by just completely not listening to a 5-second clip. It's a 5-second clip, man.
You could easily flip this and say that men are forced to do the will of a boss all day while a woman gets to stay home watching soap operas and doing whatever she wants.
Men going outside and going to work, which is what she said.
While men do things like...
No, though. Because imagine if you will, you're at your desk job. Are you not doing exactly that? Staring at a computer all day, you're not working. Technically speaking, you're not really working. Is that tough, though? Is that a hard piece of labor to do? Yes. but are you really doing anything? No, you're pushing a bunch of digits around the screen, and realistically, most of that could be really replaced by an automation by the end of the decade, very easily, because it's not that complicated. However, there's a small issue. While it is not that complicated, it is arduous. So, when you say that, okay, but let's look at the woman, because no, you're saying so you're saying the woman is in the home. Okay, so what are they doing? They're keeping the house. So yeah, literally doing a job there. That's doing multiple jobs. They're being a chef. They're being a house cleaner. They're being all these things. These are all actual jobs. And by the way, these are all jobs that very wealthy women would generally have had done for them. They're the only ones who are going to be sitting around there. The only ones. The very wealthy people. Which is interesting, isn't it? I wonder if maybe that might be a problem.
Go outside and work
is in the inverse summarized as women staying home and watching soap operas all day.
I bet if women actually gave men a choice to stay at home versus work for some boss they don't like or for rude customers, a giant portion of them would gladly not go to work.
So here he's being an accidental feminist by promoting the concept of a stay-at-home dad. The anti-feminist framing is, being a stay-at-home mom is better for you, actually. It's easier and better for you, and you like it. When the feminist framing is, you can be a stay-at-home mom, we have no problem with that. All we're saying is that you should have the right and autonomy to choose. Yeah. Very simple, very simple.
Oftentimes I hear, keep in mind, this isn't data or anything, this is just anecdotal. Could have a lot to do with the selection bias and the people who wind up in my office. But that it's kind of completely acceptable to a lot of my male patients that they have a partner that doesn't earn money and that a homemaker is like a laudable position. But women that I have as patients don't really feel the same way. They're actually very few.
Random clip of Dr. K, which he prefaces by saying this is anecdotal.
Keep in mind, this isn't data or anything. This is just anecdotal.
Love that. Love that. This guy hates data. He hates it. Just listen to how much he hates it. Listen to what he says next.
They're actually very few.
Yes, as far as I can see, including the many examples of women's testimony that I provided on this channel, the reason that house husbands are almost non-existent is because women generally don't want a man who stays home. They want a guy who makes more money than they do, whether they are political.
My fucking god, Maddie. My fucking god. Buddy. Boy. First of all, two can play at that game, as in two can work at the same time. Also, have you ever considered maybe a polyamorous relationship? A relationship where there's more than one person. Also, one side thing. What if there's no fucking children? I'm fine with that. If you don't have any children, what do you do in that scenario? Because in that scenario, you could just, not like, for example, a student, for example, is not spending their entire time cleaning their fucking house and not going to lectures, But a lot of them do live on their own. Now, when I say on their own, I do mean on their own as in on their own with students. As in, they don't have a partner who's there, Obviously, most of them don't live on their own. So, what I'm trying to explain to you is that, students generally would maybe, if they're going to clean the house, they might clean on the weekend. If they're going to cook meal, they might cook a big meal on the weekend and then put it in the freezer and have it spread out throughout the week, or cook a small meal at the end of the day, that sort of thing. If they're able to do that, I wonder if maybe you can have both people working, and do all those things in the off time. I wonder about that. But here's the thing. If you're both working, then you're both contributing. Your income gets put in together. You apply for a mortgage. Technically, you both own the house. Because both of your income went towards the mortgage calculation. They said, okay, so you, Jimmy, you earn 30 grand a year. You earn 35 grand a year. Okay, so boom, 65 grand a year. That's okay. Then we go get that's how banks calculate mortgages, how much they'll give you. Based off your income and your income. So that's the thing. So multiple issues with that. Polyamorous relationships would completely destroy this. Just completely. You could be a third person who stays at home and let's see what there's, and then you just have to think of two people go outside, and also the fact they have a stay-at-home person. That's a man is possible. And to say they want this, it's yes, and I know that because
This is all compounded by another one-sided feminist lie, which is that housework is unpaid.
As far as I can see, including the many examples from
Okay, so when is housework paid?
my channel, which definitely doesn't have a particular agenda involved. Definitely not. Editor Noah, just go ahead and scroll through what the types of videos he makes and the types of agendas of the people he presents are made out to be. Okay, I got somewhere to be. It's getting dark. I'm maybe gonna finish the rest of this video later. We are 9 minutes in of a 30-minute video, and this video must be jumping up to the 20-25 minute range. If you want a 3-part series from this creeper, let me know. If you don't, and if you hated this, also let me know. And I'll see you on the flip. I'll see you on the flip.
And this is presented as a kind of equality. While men and women have separate roles, they are equal in their value. Insisting on the equal value between paid employment and unpaid care work, which, by the way, is a feminist position, hence the Wages for Housework campaign of the 1970s, gets twisted into something much more sinister. Willingly giving up financial independence.
You get paid in the form of a roof being over your head. Do you know how expensive?
Fuck you. Fuck you. No, I'm sorry. Okay. Imagine one day you're walking down the street, you're about to go to record a video about fat phobia, and your fat acceptance. So this is apparently what think before you sleep is into. And next thing, this van pulls up the side of the road, and this masked person comes down there, just whacks you over the side of the head, and you get knocked out, and you're sort of like, not just yet though, you're kind of groggy as you begin to fall unconscious, and you are taken into this van, and then suddenly you're just driven off, and you pass out, and eventually you wake up in a basement somewhere. Would it be, and then, imagine the person starts making you work slave labor, like, I don't know, producing t-shirts or something. And would it be, in that scenario, would you be being paid with the roof over your head? No, that person is still going to go to prison for kidnapping and slavery. That's the thing. I mean, I'm not saying they will go to prison if they're not caught. What I'm saying is if they were to be caught, that's what would happen there. You can't just go, oh, but you get a roof over your head, and in return, you're a little slave. What the fuck? It's just like, yeah, no, there was never any slavery in America because they gave them a roof. Wasn't always really a roof, but it was a roof. Some places didn't actually give a roof; they just made people sleep outside. But the people who had a roof, they were being paid because they were having a roof. Which, if they didn't work, they would lose the roof. But the person they're working for is providing the roof. But for no, what even is a fucking argument? Like what even is this like?
Expensive a mortgage is? You get paid in food. You get paid in the form of a car, a cell phone, electricity, water, and internet. And despite getting all this,
what the fuck, you psychopath? It's like, yeah, you have economic. You have to. I mean, you're there, and you economically depend on this person. That's how you get paid, by being economically dependent on the person. The fucking idea is that you have autonomy, that you do not have to depend on that person for your economic livelihood. That person can't just go, oh, you argue with me, no food for you then. That kind of fucking argument. That person can't just cast you out, because guess what? They don't own home exclusively. That is a key point, and how do you not even realize that is concerning to me? It's like when you hear people who have consent problems, they don't understand consent. That's a very serious issue, and I don't get how in the modern world, I understand, right, if you're just, a regular person in the world and you don't really bother to learn to like look up things and stuff like that, how you might, be misinformed, because obviously America's education system is known for being just very bad. But like, I mean, it's very, very bad, like remarkably bad. Like the English, the European model might be awful, but like the American model is very bad. Sorry. But the point I'm making is that surely, if you're going to go online and make these videos, you'd have a basic understanding of like the point, like a basic one. Like this isn't even misogynistic. This is like right. A misogynistic take would be, oh, that's good. That's good. That's perfectly okay. But are you saying that, or do you just not understand that is a key point of feminism? To not be economically dependent on the man. Like, what the fuck?
that's provided, the stay-at-home women are still getting stipends so they can go shopping. This feminist argument ignores the fact that most people aren't walking around with tons of loose cash. If you net $5K a month, then $4,500 of that is probably going to bills and necessities, not fun stuff. Getting all your necessities.
The idea, however, buddy, little boyo, fucking idiot, is that, you see, imagine if you will, you had a partner and they were entirely dependent on your YouTube channel. Imagine instead you have a partner who is not that, who has their own job, maybe not very well paid, yes, but the point is, it's enough that they can somewhat get by. They're not looking for, a wonderful economic experience. What they're saying is, I don't want to be economically dependent on you. Because that is not a comfortable position to be in. That is not a comfortable position to be in.
Necessities paid for, plus a small allowance, is getting paid for housework.
Like, what the fuck is that? That is actually the talk of a psychopath who is, like, actively, basically imprisoning their partner.
And again, what about all the unpaid repair labor that men do around the house? No mention of that. I mean, these arguments have been so well debunked over the past 10 years that it is difficult to say that
you are actually a fucking idiot. My god.
Constant repetition of things like the wage gap as scientific fact are not nefarious, particularly considering.
Wait, what did you say?
Of things like the wage gap as scientific.
Wait. First of all, it's not scientific. It's factual. It's just a fact. Scientific would be that it is present in science. It's not present in science. Money is fake. We humans just invented money. So it's not a scientific fact. It's just a fact, Because, like, if we just disappeared money at the end of the day, all the problems would be gone there. Now, obviously, all the problems would appear. How do we run our society? But there's solutions to that. But, there's ways to solve those issues. But the point is, though, is that, what is this? Like, what is this?
So well debunked over the past 10 years that it is difficult to say that the constant repetition of things like the wage gap as scientific fact are not nefarious, particularly.
Like, do you not understand that there objectively is a wage gap? Like, I can comprehend a misogynist, someone who's patriarchal, who says, oh, no, this is what you deserve. A racist says, no, you are inferior to me. That sort of thing. That is obviously bad. But I understand the point. You think that you're better than that person. You think you deserve to be paid more than that person. Now, I would disagree with you, but that's your somewhat opinion. Now, when you get into, like biology, that's when you begin to become scientifically inaccurate. But, like, it is objectively true that in America, in my country, in, the majority of Europe, there is a wage gap. That is just an objective fact. Maybe you lived and you had a workplace where there was no gender pay gap. Maybe. But in the country of America, there is a wage gap based off gender. If you can't understand that, then you are just being an idiot. You are simply being an idiot. Because you're no longer just a misogynist, you're actually just a fucking moron. Because you are now you're just denying a fact. Instead of just, like I would understand if you just went in the misogynist route and just no, it may be a fact, but you deserve it. That, I don't agree with, but, I can understand that's your opinion. You're a horrible individual, but, you don't deserve anything. But, like, that's an opinion, right? You can understand that there is a gap. Apparently, TBYS, is, apparently just a fucking moron. Like, how are you even...
Really considering that Novara Media obviously has some big funders and is not a grassroots channel. Though really, it seems like this video is well designed to look statistical and factual, while at the same time not providing any actual evidence that being in a traditional relationship is bad for women.
And can you provide evidence of the opposite?
They can do this because they know that most people aren't actually going to question their resources. So one of the ways they give the illusion of being scientific is by providing stuff that looks like research that is not actually research.
So what did they provide?
For example,
as Betty Friedan found in her 1963 book The Feminine Mystique, middle-class American women who were living the suburban dream of husbands and housewifery were fucking miserable. Friedan identified high rates of depression, dissatisfaction, and dependence on barbiturates. women being forced into a life where they were denied autonomy, and
yeah, and a lot of suicide.
The use of all of their mental faculties was decimating their mental health.
See how it seems like they're providing a resource when they actually aren't? They said that
What is it then, buddy?
Betty Friedan said that housewives were miserable. Source citation, read the entire book.
Now, anything else I can do for you?
Yeah, maybe read this.
The Feminine Mystique. No way! I love Mystique!
That's not how you cite a resource. This is a 500-page book, and I need to know which specific page you're talking about so I can fact-check you. Ash has a...
Okay. How about you read the full book? You know, because that's how research works. Because imagine if you will, there's a scientific study on page 343. They're like, and there may be this thing. And then some fucking weirdo goes, here's my source. And you're like, how about you read the rest of it, you fucking moron? It kind of, discounts your entire point. Because it's like, well, this is the evidence for the contradictory statement. And this is the evidence of the opposite. That way, sometimes studies actually show both sides to be fair, and they're like, okay, for example, this is the evidence the vaccine causes autism, this is the evidence that it doesn't. The evidence of vaccine causes autism was when people asked parents, that sort of thing, and even some children were put down as autistic when they weren't. Like, that's the level. That is completely inaccurate and unscientific evidence. That is not evidence at all, really. Like, the one thing is the so-called evidence for that is not evidence of anything. Like, even if it was true, that's not evidence of it, because that's, what I mean? Like, that's just not evidence of anything, because it's bullshit. So, that's the point. You can't just say, here's my source, page 4, because then it's like, well, then people will go to the source and go, look, they were right, except not read the entire thing, and then they won't realize that maybe that was talking about... Do you understand? You're supposed to read the full thing, because if you don't, then you're uninformed. Then you only get a chunk of the puzzle. Like, what the fuck? Like...
a master's degree, she should know that.
I never planned on being a journalist. I thought that I was going to stay in academia and maybe do a PhD that no one would read.
I swear these people bank on the idea that you'll never look at their resources, because I actually...
Buddy, did you read the entire book? Please tell me you read the entire book.
Bought The Feminine Mystique and spent several hours listening to quite a bit of it, and I didn't once hear Betty cite any studies to prove Novara Media's argument that all housewives were miserable. Betty's...
All? They didn't say all, you fucking moron. They didn't say all.
Arguments were based on personal experience, some anecdotes, a handful of interviews she did with high school students, and pop culture magazine articles. Nowhere did I see anything like a randomized survey to see if women hating the house...
Okay, well, it's very interesting to hear someone go like, yeah, and you're supposed to do this. Yes, because I'm sure you always use sources that are very, very scientific. I know hypocrisy is not a great one to say as a reaction, because obviously, something can be inaccurate, but still be accurate towards a different thing, But, still though.
Housewife life was actually a widespread issue. Now, there may be some women out there who are unsatisfied working full-time in the home. I've seen that a handful of times in my life, but as for it being a massive issue ruining women's lives in the 1950s, well, that really was just Betty's opinion, not scientific fact. Also, Betty likes Margaret Sanger way too much in that book. If you didn't know, Margaret Sanger's past was so racist and despicable that her own organization, Planned Parenthood, had to disown her because of the backlash after people on the left found out.
Yes, you do realize, right, that, for example, Aristotle, misogynist, just straight up misogynist,
But it's not just the fact that this propaganda outlet doesn't properly cite its sources. They go as far to give completely incorrect interpretation of data just because it fits their bias.
According to Women's Aid, nearly a third of abuse survivors say that their access to money during the relationship was controlled by the perpetrator.
Okay. Women's Aid what? Where in Women's Aid can I find this? Saying check everything Women's Aid has ever done is not a source citation. Oh, look.
Okay, and your idea would be, has subsection of subsection of subsection of subsection. That is also not a source idea, because that is not giving the full context. You cannot source an area and go, oh, look here. More context, please.
Look, I did their work for them and found the reports. It's right here. And after seeing this page, I think I found out why they're so secretive about their sources.
Sorry.
This study only surveyed 72 people. That is an incredibly low population size to make such vast generalizations.
So, okay. First of all, how many people come forward who've been abused? You're talking about England, population of, so that's, 1 in a million. So every 1 in a million people, more than 1 in a million people came forward. Okay, so, explain further. But what's,
about whether a traditional household is a good thing or not. I mean, surveys take like 10 seconds to complete. It's not unreasonable to expect...
No, they don't, actually. I mean, no, surveys in general, maybe, but, like, that kind of survey is not when you go, B, C, D, E, 7, 6. I'm gonna say probably an A, yeah. Oh, there, the survey's done. Boom, there we are. Yeah, that's done. No, that's not exactly the kind of surveys you do for this, because it's a little bit more like counselling and that sort of stuff. You don't tend to get sort of thing of, yeah, let's go, boom, survey, there we are. That's not what you do in this scenario. It's just not.
Women's Aid to get at least 1,000 people to answer their survey. Also, let me frame this statistic differently. Most of the women who are abuse survivors were financially independent. Flipping around the phrasing actually makes it seem like being financially independent leads to more abuse.
No, you need to understand this. 1/3 of abuse survivors say their access to money was controlled by the perpetrator. That doesn't mean necessarily that they were... Also, like, can you comprehend? If someone is not financially independent, also there's the aspect of people who just don't realize, generally this will tend to happen less in abuse direct cases, but what I'm saying is if the person doesn't realize, they're just being, inched towards it, like you'll do as your partner says, won't you? Yeah. I mean, they could restrict your money. They haven't, but but by virtue of the fact that they could, they are. But then there's all issues there, and they add up to it.
Flipping around the phrasing actually makes it seem like being financially independent leads to more abuse.
I'm not saying that every relationship where men are in...
What? What the fuck? What?
Charge of the finances is abusive. Just that giving up your financial autonomy and placing it in the hands of your partner is highly risky if things do indeed go wrong.
Not by the data you gave.
Imagine, if you will, you said that 30% of people who get married die at their partner's hands. They get brutally murdered, tortured, and then murdered by their partner. Would you say that maybe it would be a good idea, and then you're just like, but that's not everyone, not the majority, so see, it's fine, just get killed by your partner because, well, you probably won't be, look at the draw, No, it's still a pretty high number, so it's probably best not to just go, yeah, I mean, it's not a 58% chance, so...
Your data says that you are technically less likely to be abused if you're financially dependent.
No, I think you're misunderstanding.
Victims were in situations where money was not controlled by the man.
I think...
Sort of related.
This guy's completely misunderstanding the data. The data is saying 1/3 of abuse survivors, first of all, say their access to money was controlled by the perpetrator. That doesn't mean that it being controlled leads to being abused. It means that, generally speaking, when someone is being abused and, that 1/3, like when they're being abused, 1/3 of people who are being abused will experience this. It's correlation, causation, and causation, Like, how do you not understand that? It's not... The control of money doesn't lead to the abuse. Like...
The abuse victims were in situations where money was not controlled by the man. That's sort of related. Jordan Peterson, an expert in psychology, recently...
Expert? Yeah, the man who was thrown out for being bad at his job.
Said this about relationships with female breadwinners.
It's also the case, too, that if marriages where the wife out-earns or out-statuses the husband tend to be comparatively unstable and violent.
you can do what you like with that Jordan Peterson quote. Now, personally,
yeah, because I definitely trust Jordan Peterson. Also, one side thing, maybe men might not particularly like it when women.
I don't think money has anything to do with it, and abusive people will be abusive regardless if you're financially independent or not. It's
for fuck's sake, that's the point, though. That's the point. Okay, that's the point. Imagine, if you will, you're being assaulted. And imagine that if you're white, you can call a police officer and the assault will be over and there'll be no problem. But if you're not white, you'll be raped and killed. Imagine that. Would that be, a problem perhaps? Could that be a little bit of an issue? The point is that, yes, obviously, you can be abused whether, you're financially independent or not. Obviously. The issue is that when you're not financially independent, it's a lot worse for you. Because what the fuck can you do? What do? You depend on this person for financial security. If this person chucks you out, just says, fuck it, I'll stop abusing, but there's no more of this, then you can die. You become homeless, you don't have food, okay, so now this means that the person can, that's just, what the fuck, how can you not understand it? It's just, how can you not
understand to learn about abuse psychology so you can identify an abuser before you commit to them than it is to worry about who's making what money. But honestly, Novara Media's interpretation of the data is so bad that you don't even have to have training in research methodology or data interpretation to realize that they came to the wrong conclusion.
Okay.
The only way you can
get
away
no offense, man, but you completely misunderstood that data. So clearly, your research understanding is fucking awful.
This stuff is to constantly gaslight your audience. For example,
but you completely misread the entire point of the data. Novara Media are not saying that control over finances leads to abuse. They're saying that when someone has control of the finances and they are abusing you, it is much worse. It is a much riskier situation. It is a lot harder to get out of that abuse. That is one of the reasons why it is 1/3, by the way. Because if you think about it, if you go away, you break away with the person, report it, whether it's anonymous or not, whether or not there's always the risk. Sure, the person is not at risk, but that person can get angry. So you might go, no, I won't. There are little technology companies that have decided to make it so that you don't have, like, emergency numbers won't appear as those numbers. Because they've realized that if you are with a partner and they're abusive and they see Women's Aid come up on your phone, or even just a Women's Aid number, and they're like, oh, what number is that? And they Google it. That can lead to very serious, very, very serious circumstances. So, think about that.
Territorial edge to some of the big tradwife social media accounts. From pushing anti-vax and anti-mask content to claiming that feminism and LGBT rights movements are part of a depopulation agenda.
But modern feminism is completely for depopulation. The mainstream left
for fuck's sake, man.
general constantly says that there are too many people on this planet. And not only does feminism have women like Chelsea Handler gloating about how great it is to be childless at 48, but also, what have they been telling women for decades?
You are a pathetic little shit, you know that? Seriously, what the fuck?
Don't worry about a family. Use your 20s to go to college and build a career, and then in your 30s, when you burn through most of your fertility window, you can start thinking about having
What
kids.
the fuck is that? Seriously, what the fuck is that, you little creepy bastard? What is that? What the fuck is that? By the way, I use the B word, as a key point to this, because I wonder, is this fella married? To a woman, I mean? Because, you see this, it's interesting, I'm just saying, the misogynists in the space are interesting because the relationship appears to be very weird, So I wonder if it is, maybe.
Now, the very important thing I told my daughter and granddaughters: no serious guys in your 30s.
Okay. And what?
No serious guys to your 30s.
This doesn't even account for the many woke and feminist outlets like
Don't ever
Cosmo telling young women to also burn their 20s having tons of sexual partners and to be unfaithful in their relationships, which are actions that will make them extremely undesirable to stable partners.
Fuck you, man. Fuck you.
Cause them to end up in an abusive relationship.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Oh my God almighty, like... It's your fault! Why did you sleep with Brian? We were supposed to be together. What the fuck? Oh my God almighty. Oh my God. That's something else. That is something else.
No relationship at all. So much for keeping you safe, right?
What the fuck? Like that's like blaming the victim to the extreme. Like, no, what do you mean? I had to abuse you because you became undesirable to me. So that's how it works, you know? Like, oh my God almighty, this fucker is actually like seriously, wow.
You think a cheater is going to find a healthier relationship? But you don't even have to look outside of Novara Media to find depopulation.
Okay, have you heard of and this is the thing that can happen. Have you heard of a relationship where where you have sort of like an open relationship? That happens, you know. Because guess what? You can like more than one person at a time, you fucking moron. Like, do you not understand that? Like, what the fuck? Like, how do you not understand that? Like, basically, it's a very weird thing. Like, you know, the idea of, you know, marriage is to be between a man and a woman and only once. You know, that was the original idea for the Christians. Not marriage in general, obviously, but for the Christians. That was their idea there. Of course, then some other people chopped away at it and thought, well, how about no, not just once? Because they realized, well, people actually are attracted to more than one person. Which leads one to question the fact that maybe, just maybe, have you ever thought of the fact that maybe you might just be attracted to more than one person in your lifetime, and maybe that'll be at the one time, you know? And having this culture in which you say, no, you can only have one, inevitably leads to poor relationships and cheating. You know?
Propaganda. It's in the very same video where Ash Sarkar gaslights the audience and says it doesn't exist.
Middle-class American women who were living the suburban dream of husbands and housewifery were fucking miserable.
Yeah.
In the 1950s, the average age of marriage for women was falling, and the number of children they were having was rising.
Why do you say high birth?
Oh. What happened there? We'll be back in a minute, I guess. There. What is a misogynist?
Why do you say high birth rates like it's a bad thing? There's a completely...
Why do you assume it's a good thing, you creepy weirdo? Like, seriously, it's very kind of concerning when you hear someone be like, why do you think it's a bad thing? We should breed! Breed!
Negative connotation to her statement, especially when misery is described right before it. But you know all those social security and welfare benefits you woke types like? Well, those are funded by a growing population.
No, actually, no. That is what we call an unsustainable situation. You know why? Because it means that to support our elderly people, we need to continue growing the population. However, that means the elderly will grow and we need to continue growing our population. But here's a potential solution for you. You see, the thing is, what if, instead, we just have the same population? You see, then what we'd have there is we wouldn't have to do that because we'd have a stable population. If you have a constantly rising population, you have a constantly increasing requirement to fund it, you know? And that's a debt cycle. Eventually you will collapse your society.
If the population stops growing, then you don't have the tax base to pay for Social Security.
Actually, you very much do. You just tax billionaires. Fucking moron.
You can enjoy that when you literal communists become old. There are so many examples of depopulation agendas going on, like this stuff that Bill Gates says.
So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero, and that's going to be based on the number of people and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people.
8 billion now.
That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Interestingly enough, I also found this clip during that Bill Gates speech.
By the way, that would not be depopulation, really. that will be just not increasing as much as it would be, you know? So that just makes it clear.
In fact, if you could pick just one thing to lower the price of, to reduce poverty, by far you would pick energy.
And now we know why the price of gas and other forms of energy have been inflated to a ridiculous amount. It keeps people poor. Also, let's go back to Betty Friedan's...
Yeah, wait, sorry, what?
To a ridiculous amount. It keeps... Now we know why the price of gas...
Wait. Price of, to reduce poverty, by far you would pick energy.
And now we know why the price of gas and other forms of energy have been inflated to a ridiculous amount. It keeps people poor. Also,
is it why? What's with the monotone voice? Because the problem with the monotone voice is that, are you being sarcastic or are you just like actually being right?
Let's go back to Betty Friedan's praise of Margaret Sanger, who was a well-known depopulationist. Read one of her books like The Pivot of Civilization. She founded Planned Parenthood to lower the population and practice eugenics. That's
no, actually.
Sentiment is right in the last couple of pages of that book. And what this all doesn't account for is the many people who are being hit by this feminist Sex and the City propaganda, who are getting into their mid to late 30s and realizing that they wasted their fertility window. And
fuck you. Fuck you.
And are now too old to have kids.
You are a very creepy person.
I'm sitting here with just this horrible realization. I've been divorced for 3 years, and in that 3 years, I have spent most of my days figuring out how I can become physically, mentally, financially, spiritually healthy enough to be able to afford and take care of a child.
So, what's going to be the pitch here? When you're 20 and you're much less financially stable.
And not only have I taken that time, but I've done the math, and it does not work out. I am not young enough or fertile enough.
I don't think people realize, like, you tend to get richer with age, you know? You tend to get richer with age. You know? You can, and even though you get richer, you can demand less hours, you can take more time off because you have more of an experience and all this. And yes, obviously, when you have an economy in which, you know, people are getting paid fuck all, yeah, it means that when you're elderly, you probably will have to work. But you don't have to work as much generally. So, I don't get this.
We're financially stable enough.
So again, going back to this statement here about what's being told to young people.
These women are often...
But how exactly is that supposed to fucking help? Like, yeah, because, you know, we all know young people are doing really well financially. Like, do you understand, right, that the, like, by the way, how do you know the person wouldn't just leave them, you know?
Really young, in their 20s, and they're preaching the values of submitting to a husband to an audience of other young women.
Again, excluding what happens to children at air quote family-friendly events, what have you guys been telling women in their 20s?
The thing is, right, is let's say you're in your 20s and you get a partner and you don't go to work, and then the partner leaves you or dies or, you know, loses their job and you have to get a job. Now suddenly you've got no experience. Now that might be okay when you're 23, 4, 5, 6, 7. When you, even if you didn't go to college, you can say, well, I'm of the same age as someone who's just come out of college. But when you're in your 30s, well, you know, because at what point exactly? Because there is obviously an issue of, well, what happens if it doesn't last? The trad wife feel, you know? What happens then? What do you do?
Feminism has constantly been telling women to wait to have kids for things like a career, instead of doing a very obvious adjustment, which is to have kids young and then spend the second half of your life, which spans decades, working on a career.
Wow,
no one really is thinking
a stupid idea.
That 30 is too late.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
That is a stupid idea. That is a stupid idea. First of all, you're gonna get less pay then. Also, are you saying that you should pursue a career then? Anyway, so you're against? Are you then against the in-house working? You're just saying you should do the in-house working when you're 20s and 30s, but you should then do work later on, even though if you don't get a job in your 20s and 30s, you're less likely to get paid when you're in your 40s and 50s and 60s, which means that you may actually be in the unfortunate situation of getting paid less than your child, who is instantly working. But then, not if they're, like, what if they're a man? Like, what the fuck is that? Like, you know, that makes no sense, you know? Like, what even is that? Like, you know. Anyway. Ah, my. Sorry, it jumped there. So, continue. Oh.
For your life, which spans decades, working on a career.
No
Fundamentally, stupid idea. Not a good idea at all.
one really is thinking that 30 is too late.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it turns out that life is shorter than people think. You know,
Jordan,
I've had clinical clients who followed that path, and some of them were women who had initially decided that they didn't want to have children and then changed their minds quite dramatically in their late 20s, which is a very common pattern, and then couldn't have children.
Okay.
And it was just absolutely.
And could they have had children before?
Disastrous for them. They were off.
But could they have had children before? Because it's kind of important for that. Like, you know, if somebody doesn't check their fertility, then, you know, they might think, oh, if only, but no. But did you check it then? Because if not, then you can't say, oh, well, if, well, no, actually. I never could have.
And on the, you know, artificial fertility route for 10 years with multiple miscarriages and failures on that front.
And this is all assuming that working a career is the ultimate path to satisfaction, which is what Novara Media
okay, so he's rolling back that
and books like The Feminine Mystique are suggesting. They say that housework and chores are boring and monotonous.
No, they didn't say that.
However, a career can be just that as well. And that's assuming that...
First of all, one of the main things is dependency on somebody else. Because how exactly will you be a houseworker in just your own house if, you know, you don't have somebody else? Now, obviously, if you retire, you know, and you have a pension, well, there you go. But if not, if you don't have income coming in, then you're going to have to depend on somebody else. That's not a very good position to be in. And that is a problem.
You get a good one and you aren't working a career at Starbucks or a grocery store. Most of the fulfilling careers that Betty Friedan talked about in her book were arts careers, to which you are incredibly lucky if you are financially successful in. Most artists are failures. I did notice in the parts that I read that Betty didn't mention construction as a career path for women, but also stuff that sounds good like discovering the cure for cancer can be incredibly monotonous. Do you have any idea how boring lab work is? So
do you? Also, lab work does not need to be boring. You can liven it up, very much so. You know, it doesn't need to be boring. Like, it's very weird, but like I have to ask, do you do lab work? Because if you have, maybe it's just you found it boring. It's the issue of saying, oh, this is boring. Boring, like, people can find, you know, joy in the most monotonous of tasks. You know, pain is an issue. Pain is where now you're not just you know, not just saying, oh, this is boring. That's a personal opinion, really. As I said, people can find the most interesting things boring, or the most boring things interesting. It's just a bit of an
If you're
open
unfulfilled
there.
as a housewife, then you are probably going to be unfulfilled in a career, except now your kids will be raised by the...
No, that's not true. That's just not true. That's just not true. Like, just not true. Like, okay, yeah, you're unfulfilled as an accountant, so you definitely be unfulfilled as a film star. No, actually, they really like acting. So, no, that's just not how that works at all.
government or some minimum wage daycare employee instead of by their parents.
Doesn't need minimum wage. You can pay fairly.
The actual answer is less about having a career and more about figuring out some sort
Also, you're assuming they have children.
of lifelong goal to serve that piques your interest. However, that's not really what this Novara Media video is about. It really just seems like a hit piece that's not about solving a problem, but more about making political opponents look bad. Thus, it's propaganda. You can tell because not only do they provide no solutions for a problem that they are discussing, but
they do.
But also, all the presenter does is name call and relate being a housewife to things that the left hates, instead of actually responding to the argument.
The tradwife trend sits in the middle of an online content network, drawing together different subcultures.
See, the difference, you see, what you're fundamentally misunderstanding is that, if someone is someone who, makes a product or does something, if that is online, that's not the same as them just being that way. A tradwife TikTok is in itself propaganda, because what the fuck is that? You cannot be a traditional wife and at the same time have your TikTok career, You can't have that. That's just not how that works, fundamentally. Unless, perhaps, maybe, that's part of the idea.
movements and interests. Its focus on homemaking connects to other lifestyle content like recipes, interior decor, skincare, soft life, and homesteading, which is like farming but made aesthetic. And its rigid belief in fixed gender roles, its rejection of feminism and liberal, left-wing or progressive values, and its emphasis on Christianity means that it has lent a feminine veneer to conservative far-right and white nationalist ideologies.
I don't see how you're a white nationalist if you want to learn how to garden. To be perfectly honest, though, it seems...
Yes, but there's a difference between gardening after you get home from work, or, because you have a pension, or, on the weekends, or, because that's your job as a regular thing, like you're a landscaper, or that's the thing, and gardening because you've been told you stay at home and you are required to mind your garden. Well, their garden.
Seems like the liberal types who are more into gardening, and it's not just conservatives who want to be stay-at-home moms. Plenty of people on the left want to do that as well. But of course they want to crap on gardening because George Soros probably wants you eating pesticides and GMOs while having no idea where
fella's an anti-Semitic, isn't he?
Food comes from. It's also curious how TikToks like this weren't shown about how trad wives cooking all the time keeps their kids off convenience junk foods. And by the way,
you do realize that the reason why junk food has succeeded in marketing is not only because of advertising, but also because it's very cheap. It's just objectively very cheap. Now, obviously, it does this by dramatically reducing wage costs and, costs of everything, including food, which is maybe not the best thing, for your health. But the point is that, while yes, some people are perfectly capable of, paying for food that is, expensive, others are not. And yeah, after a few gourmet meals, they'll be in a bit of an awkward financial situation. Now, should they be if there was an equal world? No. But that is the way the world works currently. Well, America at least. And Europe.
This wasn't the only example of name-calling. It happens a bunch of times during the video.
Okay, explain.
Here's another example of it.
Is the very fact that it advocates women voluntarily surrendering their autonomy by presenting it as an aspirational lifestyle, which makes it so popular with conservatives, misogynists, white nationalists, and religious fundamentalists.
If you want to be a housewife, not only are you a misogynist, but you're also a religious whack job.
No.
If you want to be a housewife...
Listen to what Ash said. Listen to wait, okay, let's go back.
Is the very fact that it advocates women voluntarily surrendering their autonomy by presenting it as an aspirational lifestyle, which makes it so popular with conservatives, misogynists, white nationalists.
Making it popular with misogynists doesn't make you the fucking misogynist when you're the woman. You comprehend? You're the misogynist, you idiot. Ash is talking about you. That is popular with you.
White nationalists and religious fundamentalists.
If you want to be a housewife, not only are you a misogynist, but you're also a religious whack job and a...
No. Okay, first of all, they're separate things. So it's not, oh, you're this and this. It's it is popular with these people and these people. Like, okay. Imagine, if you will, I had a restaurant. And I did a poll, and it turned out that the majority of my customers were racist, or misogynistic, or religious fundamentalists. Or. So not all three. Or. That would not make me a racist. That would make my customer base the racists. Now, specifically, the racists of the customer base. And the idea is that maybe there's something a bit concerning about my restaurant if it's attracting those kind of people to it.
Racist. And they frame this on the level of associations like, hey, did you know that bad World War II man liked ice cream? So if you like ice cream, then you're a fascist dictator. The real irony is that they use this fringe example in the form of a person who goes by wife with the purpose and use her word to call traditionalists Nazis.
No.
Which is really funny because they are heavily associated with and probably funded by a literal former Nazi.
You're a Hungarian Jew who escaped the Holocaust by posing as a Christian.
Right.
And you watched lots of people get shipped off to the death camps.
Right. I was 14 years old. And I would say that that's when my character was made.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were his adopted godson.
Yes.
went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right.
Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. No problem at all.
No feeling of guilt?
No.
That was quite the 60 Minutes piece from 1998. I would really recommend watching it.
I think you might want to scale back on that, because, you know, if you don't want to look like an anti-Semite, probably best not to do that.
But this is all ignoring the more important aspect of the equation, which is that none of this name-calling from Novara Media is an actual argument. It's just...
Yeah, but you fundamentally misunderstood or just misquoted and misunderstood, like, the entire point of most of what they said. Misunderstood the data, you know, such as saying, well, you see, no, because 2/3, that means that you're better off if you're, no, but that's not what the data is saying. You know, it's very basic to understand this, but apparently not. And this here, it's like, no, it's saying, she's saying that it's popular with these people. She's not saying that the content creators are all of this. Like, how do you not comprehend that?
It's
very
trying to put
basic.
traditionalists into a box and make them look bad, which is propagandistic and evil. I mean, like, half of this video is them throwing out a bunch of buzz terminology that they know their audience will be offended by to create negative associations with traditionalism.
Explain.
Some tradwives have allied themselves with the conservative right by taking aggressively transphobic stances. Tradwife culture is dominated by aggressively anti-abortion, anti-birth control, and anti-sex views.
Yeah, if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, then you're transphobic and you want to take women's rights away. That's basically what they're saying, when I bet that most of these tradwives outside of the internet aren't even that political. However,
but they're talking about the tradwives on TikTok, though.
However, Novara Media is so hellbent on propagandizing people into hating traditional households that they...
That's not a traditional household, though, actually. Because, you know, not only are they recording it for a TikTok, but also, big shocker, that's not how anything works in that scenario. Like, just listen to what you're saying, like, you know? Listen to what you're saying. Have a little listen. Because it's important.
But Novara Media is so hellbent on propagandizing people into hating traditional households that they even go to the point where they really are stretching to relate housewives to people that those housewives would personally hate.
If you want to know with certainty whether the tradwife trend is an empowering reclamation of domestic labour or just regular old sexism made palatable with TikTok aesthetics, just look at the kind of men who approve of it.
I don't like girls who are over sociable. I don't like girls who know lots of people. I don't like girls who are always out.
Okay, except there's one major problem here.
What? What? I know, it is just video is loading. You know?
Okay, except there's one major problem here.
Okay.
Andrew Tate isn't a traditionalist. He's a guy who is heavily in favor of sexual promiscuity and infidelity, which traditionalists hate. You even showed that in your video with this tweet here that has a message that is very against promiscuity.
Yeah. Okay. Do you comprehend, right, that the traditional woman does not mean the man is traditional? A great number of, you know, lives where, you know, basically the man would just go off and start fucking other people, you know? You know, the woman would be at the home, yeah, sure, but, like, the man oftentimes was doing other things, shall we say, you know, to this day.
You also featured women like Astique several times in your video, who is so devoutly against promiscuity and going outside the relationship that she won't even go to the gym without her husband.
I do not go to the gym without my husband, ever. I did this when I was single, and when I tell you the amount of people, men, that walk up to me in the gym, it's countless. And a married woman, whether she has a ring on her finger or not, men just sometimes don't follow those boundaries, and
that's what we call an abject of patriarchy.
It's not about trust, it's about removing yourself from a situation.
Yeah, don't fucking do that, obviously. Don't just come up to, like, you know.
Before it can even happen.
Not to mention that Andrew Tate ran a camgirl business, which is something that traditionalists also don't like, which you all...
Yeah, I mean, he's also, you know, a rapist, so, I mean... You know.
Also acknowledged earlier by calling them anti-sex. Did you even research this group? It's hard to believe that, especially when this video spends all this time crapping on the lifestyle, but zero time actually going over why women want to be traditional.
Okay, so while I think all these things explain the political impact of the tradwife trend, they don't explain why it's so appealing in the first place. The answer is simple. Modern life, in many ways, sucks. It's hard to make the case in an era of low wages, high anxiety, precarious work, and extortionate rents that women are liberated just through entering the labour market.
Okay, but people being poor
Explains well, please.
It's not the major argument for traditional homes.
What is?
I understand that you're taking that angle so you can promote communism, but
the
big argument for a woman staying home is so that there's a parent there to take care of the kids instead
What kids?
of having someone else raise them. It's also about separation of labor so that each partner can specialize at their talent and create a better product for the household. But like
do you think most people are good at that job? Like, fundamentally, do you think that if you've got a female partner, do you think that they're the best in the best at the best in the thing that they're best at over any other job they could be doing is cooking and do you really think that? Do you honestly think that? Do you? Do you really think that? Because if you do, you're just stupid, like.
Said, this video literally responds to none of the arguments that trad wives have for why they want that lifestyle, even the stuff around birth control.
Trad wife, religious and conservative advocates have taken to TikTok in order to push disinformation about birth control. This can range from falsely calling the pill a carcinogenic to hyping out the rhythm or pull-out methods on social media. Just to be clear, these are less forms of contraception than they are playing pregnancy roulette.
First of all, just from a self-preservation perspective, if you're going to go full Andrew Tate and sleep with lots of women, then you should never trust a woman who says she's on birth control. Though understand that the
Okay, that's a very, very weird thing to just say that.
trad wife argument about birth control is in the context of a committed relationship, and the Christians you hate so much have always preached against the kind of sexual promiscuity that would make not taking birth control dangerous. Second, like any medication,
No, but the thing is, though, not taking birth control is always dangerous. See, whether, you're sleeping with thousands of people or one in your entire lifetime, if you're not using birth control, there's still a risk that if you like, this is, you just
birth
got
control has its side effects, and that's not just some crazy conspiracy theory or some bad life plan that will lead to an unintended pregnancy. If you wear a condom properly, cycle track, and use a condom with pull-out during the ovulation period, then there is virtually zero chance that you will get a woman pregnant. And then you don't have to take a drug for years that alters your body's chemistry.
You actually don't need to take a drug. You don't need to take a drug. You need to take a pill if you have after, but you can do it before. There is the coil. You have all sorts of things that can be done to prevent a pregnancy. The issue, however, is to prevent STDs and STIs from spreading. Because if you've got a coil, that's not going to spread. That's not going to stop a lot of STDs and STIs. So, it's just not really factually there. So the idea of a pill is actually just to solve that problem.
Video is so disingenuous in the way it criticizes traditionalism. And on top of that, they provide zero alternatives or solutions that would make people's lives better than the thing that they are criticizing.
So, what to do about it? I think it means generating a different vision of fulfillment, happiness, emotional nourishment, and family life, which isn't predicated on the patriarchal domination of women.
So
work won't set women free, and neither will being ruled by men. It's freedom, equality, and reciprocal care that will.
That doesn't mean anything. It's just a bunch of words.
Did you just not listen to them?
Words that sound good. Because I, as a viewer, have no idea how to turn my household into something ideal based on what you said. It just seems like you're using a bunch of big words to hide the fact that you don't actually have an alternative that will make people happier and more fulfilled.
Basically, you're saying you didn't understand it because you're too ignorant.
However, what I really hope for is that...
It's very weird that, no, you're just using big words. Okay. So you're... Weird strategy, because... I don't understand the big words, guys. That's too big for me, They're way too big. No, can't do it.
Future, I don't have to explain to you guys that this is pure propaganda for you to notice it. And when I say propaganda, I'm not using it as a term to define something that I disagree with, nor am I using the more liberal Edward Bernays definition of the word as a term for influencing technique. Propaganda is a negative. It's a deliberate technique to get you to believe and act on something false by using manipulative techniques like only talking about one side of the argument, calling your opponents a bunch of names instead of responding to their ideas.
That's actually not propaganda. It's bias and, ignoring the point. You have to be honest though. If you're saying to someone, if someone is far right, would you just not call them far right then? Because that would be calling them a bunch of names, oh no, we'll just platform them. We'll just listen as if they're making any points. What I'm trying to say is that when you are talking about these things, you do have to tell people, well, yeah, this person is it, yeah, because otherwise you're going to be responsible for misinformation. Like this fucker
is bad without providing any good alternatives. The only purpose of such material is to break things down and turn the viewer into someone useless. Again, it's hard to believe that this stuff is not nefarious, particularly when 4 years ago, Ash said this.
And I very much believe that your audience is only as stupid as you treat them. So if you deliver things with nuance, if you deliver things with complexity, you give them something of real substance to agree with or disagree with, then you'll have a really great audience.
Then why do you treat your audience like they are complete morons by trying to trick them with partial citations that don't lead to your actual resources?
You completely misunderstood.
Why do you offer no nuance by not actually addressing the trad wife arguments and by suggesting that everyone who wants to stay home is a racist and a misogynist?
No, but they didn't actually say that, though. You're being an ignorant moron.
No steel manning of the opposition's arguments whatsoever. An intelligent person would take on their opponent's strong manning of the opposition's argument is a racist and a misogynist. There was no steel manning of the opposition's arguments whatsoever. An intelligent person would take on their opponent's strongest arguments, but clearly Novara Media believes their audience is stupid, so they didn't do.
But they did, though, and unfortunately the strongest arguments are just pretty weak.
Do that. But the great thing is, and I've said this a bunch of times on this channel before, is that all you have to do to fix the problem is simply recognize propaganda, and it doesn't work on you. And it doesn't take an incredibly advanced...
Okay, that is very funny. First of all, objectively false. If you watch Fox News a lot, even if you're watching it, you know, as a critic, you know, you're still going to be influenced by it subconsciously. That's just a fact. Now, if you're very, very much against it, and you're very, but even then, you're still going to be getting influenced against it. Obviously, if it's very, very explicit, yeah, maybe not then. But if it's, you know, if it's actually good propaganda, no, that's not true. Just recognizing as propaganda is not going to do anything, you know? That's not going to do anything. So, I mean, sorry, it is going to do some stuff, but it's not going to completely eradicate the effect that it will have on your mind. That's not true. So that part is not true. And, you know, and so that's the thing there. So next we move on to the fact of like, oh, just recognize it's propaganda. How? Like...
intelligence to do that. You just have to know the trick.
You can't fucking recognize propaganda, clearly. So, you know.
Watch what they are doing instead of listening to what they're saying. People who aren't trying to manipulate you towards an agenda won't do what Novara Media did in their video, and as soon as you see these tactics used, you should immediately stop listening to the speaker because they aren't someone who is acting in good faith or your best interest. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you.
No, I won't.
You in the next video.
No. So that was that person. So yeah, that was that video there. So certainly, we certainly have that. So yeah, basically at the end, Noah Simpson's video is and channel in the description, as are Novara Media. They should be in the description there. And yeah, it turns out the TBYS is talking a bunch of nonsense and misunderstands most of the points. Just remarkable, remarkable ability there. Anyway, Schlon.